Rachel Reeves thinks that we don't do anything inside the civil service anger over job cuts. We're going to read into this exclusive from the iPaper, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an exclusive from the iPaper with the headline that Rachel Reeves thinks that we don't do anything inside the civil service's anger over the job cuts. Whitehall staff are frustrated over the plans to warn the frontline services will suffer. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share this across social media so others can notify this video. I think, there is this perception that people think that all their problems, that a lot of problems to do with government is down to civil servants. And I honestly don't quite know where this idea came from that things that aren't operating or things that aren't working out is because of civil servants. It really isn't. It really is down to it's the government at the end of the day, whatever government, makes the final choices when it comes to these things. Now, I think it's really important before we go more into this, because not everyone has a very clear understanding of what exactly is a civil servant and what actually do they do behind the scenes. So I decided to do a little bit of Googling, and we're going to have a look, guys, here. I'm going to show you here. What are civil servants? So civil servants are politically impartial, appointed officials and employed by the UK government to deliver public services and implement policy working within the central government department and agencies. So they are responsible for developing and implementing government policies and providing service to the public, acting in a non-partisan manner. Civil servants are employed by Her Majesty's Civil Service. Their work encompasses a wide range of areas, including education, environment, transport, defence and more. They are involved in delivering services like paying benefits and pensions, running employment services, managing prisons and issuing driving licences. Civil servants uphold the Civil Service Code and value the integrity, honesty and objectivity and impartiality. Civil servants can work in various roles such as vets, customer service advisors, weapons engineers, marine biologists or web designers, among others. The UK Civil Service includes central government departments, executive agencies, non-ministerial departments and some non-departmental public bodies. There are many opportunities for people to join the civil service in a variety of roles and career paths available. The civil service is committed to improving the delivery of public service for everyone in society, respectfully and valuing differences. I wanted to give that variation of it here, just to kind of give people a bit of an understanding of that term, because I really, really do think that people have this perception that for some reason all their problems are that people seem to be like the general public don't really understand civil servants, don't understand the work the roles to do, and that's obviously just, yes, that is a Google AI summary of it, but that's just a summary of what civil servants do and the roles they do. And I'm sure some people who are subscribers in that may know, obviously if they want to add more in the comments down below, please feel free to do so. But they are vitally important. It's not like this. The premise, obviously, from this exclusive that we're going to be reading is that that the Chancellor thinks that these people are just time wasters, that they're just sitting on their asses and doing absolutely nothing, and that's just clearly not the case. It's because of civil servants that governments are able to, that policies are able to get implemented, whatever the government chooses to do. It's not their job, civil servants, to question things. Now, there will be obviously some people saying, but Regan, we had that with the Conservatives. Yes, we did. And the reason we had that conflict with civil servants and the Conservatives, and that the biggest difference there is they were conflicting with UK laws. A lot of things that the Conservatives were trying to do were conflicting with UK laws and conflicting with international laws, which is why you had these stories of civil servants civil servants questioning why they on certain policies, because it could put them in jeopardy, because they're the ones at the end of the day, civil servants, who are implementing it on behalf of the government. Yeah, because the minister's not going to do it themselves. The minister implements laws and establishes, not implement laws, but they're the ones obviously who work for the government. They work on behalf of the government, civil servants under them. And they're the ones, who have to impose these things at the end of the day. And that person, regardless of who they are, doesn't want to put themselves in jeopardy of breaching any kind of laws. And the Conservatives were intending to break UK laws and breaking international laws on some of the policies that they want to implement, i.e. the Rwanda policy, for example. We know that it was problematic because it literally failed in the UK courts, and it would have been a breach of international laws as well against human rights of many immigrants as well. That was of concern for civil servants at the time as we discussed it. So that's just one example. That's just one example, obviously, of there. Now, feel free to add any stories regarding past Labour governments that have had clashes with civil servants. But they just obviously their opinion is invalid when it comes to whatever the government wants to do. What becomes a problem is if they are in jeopardy because they may be breaching laws. Whether it's UK laws or international laws, they do not want to put themselves in that position. And it's only in that situation is when they find themselves in. But other than that, they will do whatever the government, whoever they are, to do at the end of the day. So this idea and premise, like honestly, like I really don't have a hard time believing that civil servants are terrible, lazy, that they don't do anything. Like it's really not. They're really, really not. They are so fundamentally important to us, guys. They really, really are. And considering what this Chancellor has been doing, especially with regards to PIP and benefits, someone who has no idea what it's like here for the lowest of people in society who are really struggling right now, does speak a lot of volumes, you know. So let's read into this, guys. So, Labour ministers will be unable to deliver key policies if major job cuts across Whitehall go ahead as planned, civil servants have warned. So the government staff told the iPaper that frontline public services would suffer if the roles were lost. These public workers also said they felt like an easy target for the government efficiency drive. They warned that key Labour policies from prison reform to boosting employment through benefit changes would be in jeopardy if the government pushes ahead with the changes. Rachel Reeves confirmed in a spring statement that she plans to make the civil servant leaner by reducing running costs by 15% and investing in AI tools to replace staff. I already said about this on the spring statement when we covered it, that they were going to lean more on artificial intelligence. Chancellor previously said that she thought 10,000 civil servants' jobs out of more than 50,000, 500,000 could be cut, claiming back office jobs could go while frontline services would be protected. Barbara, who works at the HM Prison and Probation Service, which sits within the Ministry of Justice, said colleagues were frustrated and angry at the plans for job cuts. Civil servants with over 10 years' experience said she did not understand where Labour ministers get this idea that there is a pool of back office staff somewhere not doing anything. Barbara says both frontline and admin staff were needed to keep overstretched prisons and probation services running, as well as delivering major changes, including the building of 4 new prisons and the expansion in early prisoner release. And obviously, I don't know. Let's be very clear here. We don't know specifically if there's going to be cuts within the civil servants with regards to prisons. We don't know that, but obviously, 10,000 is obviously a lot. We don't know where exactly these cuts are going to be. We honestly don't know. But as you guys know, even in the run-up to the general election, our prison service were already overwhelmed, and it required both the Conservative government and the working with Labour to have backup plans, obviously, because the prison service was so overcrowded. And we're still having that issue right now because of the mess that the Conservatives left in. And civil servants were obviously, it was just a nightmare for them, and it still is. They seem to have this ridiculous belief of what AI can do. The IT system at the moment aren't set up to do the things that ministers think that they can do, she added. The other thing as well is that while it may sound like AI can do a lot of things, we're not at the point where AI can literally replace all the civil servants, because the majority of the civil servants, because that's kind of they want to kind of my impression is that exactly what this government wants to do, but they can't do that because we're not ready for that yet. The iPaper has changed the names of all the civil servants interviewed in the story to protect their identity. Gilligan, a civil servant at the Department of Work and Pensions, which is almost 5 years' experience, said she experienced strike action over the greatly disappointed budget cuts. She said she hoped that the government would take a step back from making any mass cullings in frontline roles such as work coaches, who are needed to deliver major benefit reforms, including more intense job training. Gillingham warned previous waves of voluntary redundancies made under the Conservatives have led to cuts from a wide variety of roles. Many good staff lost their jobs, she said. Sammy, a civil servant working in policy in Whitehall, said colleagues felt uncertain about their jobs and were patronised by the government. He said that the public would absolutely notice if policy roles were cut, claiming that Labour's reforms and legislation for essential services will be delayed and of poor quality. Sammy also feared that taxpayers would end up overpaying millions for private companies to do poorly what civil servants were doing well if ministers outsourced the work. There is this consensus as well if you are starting to see public services, we know that they're bad already, but if they start to get worse, you're going to see more of this premise of, well, let the private sector take over it. Well, no, the private sector. I'm worried that private companies will take more advantage of us, and at the end of the day, that costs more than the work of obviously public services. And the impression that I'm getting here is that this is what they want at the end of the day. And you really don't want things run by private companies. You really don't want things run by the private sector when it comes to your essential services, guys. You really, really don't. I cannot stress this enough, because at the end of the day, their number one priority is making a profit. It's not about the service that they do. Whereas for the public service, it's their priority is to making sure to give you the best public service they possibly can. When the government baselessly attacks the civil servants in the hopes that they will stay in power for 4 more years, what usually happens are cuts to essential services, he said. Joe, a civil servant who has almost 5 years' experience, saying the civil servants was being treated as easy target for scapegoats for cuts. If they made sudden significant cuts, and then some of the government's flagship policies would grind to a halt immediately. Services were unlikely to be improved by sacking admin staff and replacing them with promises about numerous AI efficiencies, he said. Taking swipes at the civil service is basically a free hit, added Joe. We're one sector that can be diminished without significant media backlash. Union leaders have attacked Reeves' distinction between back office and frontline roles, arguing it was an artificial divide. Civil servants in all types of roles help the public and deliver the government's mission, said Mike Clancy, the Prospect General Secretary. The FDA's David Pennon said that 15% of cuts to running cost budgets could not come simply from the back office functions like HR and communications, and warning that up to 50,000 staff across a wider group of public-facing roles could face the axe. Reeves announced on Wednesday that she was bringing forward a $3.25 billion of investment in public service reform, a transformation fund that would be used to expand AI and other technologies with the aim of creating a leaner and more effective civil service. Some $150 million would be provided for employment exit schemes and civil servants, with a target of reducing Whitehall admin costs by 15%, £2 billion a year by the end of the decade. Reeves says that Labour had begun to fundamentally reform the British state and wanted to significantly reduce the cost of running government. Government spokesperson said, we will develop a more agile and mission-focused and more productive civil servants that is empowered to deliver by increasing the number of civil servants in tech and digital roles, cutting red tape and bureaucracy. We are deliberately concentrating on administration's cost savings, targeting resources at frontline services and delivering for the public. Guys, this is the kind of language that you will hear from this kind of language is the language you kind of hear from the Conservatives. This kind of stuff, like they're saying, this kind of cutting stuff. These civil servants have very important roles to play. I already told you the roles of them. And you cannot replace these jobs simply by artificial intelligence, guys. We're not at that point. And while, of course, I'm not somebody who's worked in civil service, and I'm sure maybe one or two of you have maybe listening may have a better analysis on this, and feel free to show down in the comments below. But this idea that cutting civil servants means that, and they're going to be more efficient. And it's just like, having, how much cutting do we need to do here? Like, it just feels like to me, it's as it says in there, like they are easy pickings, that they're an easy target, and because they're civil servants, because they're not the general public, the media, as it says there, they're not really going to be caring about them. Public service jobs really, really matter. We don't want to get to a point where public service are not able to get to a point where they're not able to do their roles anymore, and then there's an argument that's going to start being made to use the private sector instead, because that's what my fear is. What we're going down here is that it will get to a point where saying some of these jobs, some of these roles that are run by the civil servants, run by our public services, they're going to say, oh no, we'll let private companies do them instead, and they will just milk the taxpayers for so much money in doing so as well. That's my fear that we'll be going down, guys. I really hope that's not the case. But it does just feel like to me that it does feels like to me that they are an easy target on this. But honestly, what do you guys think about civil servants? What do you guys make of the roles that they play in the public services? What do you think about the possibility, well, thinking about over 50,000 of them, 10,000 of them being cut, guys? Let me know your thoughts and more on all of this down in the comment section below. Now, if you found this video informative, helpful, in any interesting in any way, shape or form, please hit that like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media. Subscribe if you haven't to already, and do check out the Rumble and Patreon channels for exclusive content on there. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do, you can hit that join button down below to join the YouTube membership for as little as 99p. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.